Hey everybody, how are we? Natalie Cutler-Welsh here. Welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Your Woo. This is a new series that I'm doing where we're diving deep on a bunch of topics a little bit different than the usual. So check it out. It's on Rumble if you haven't already seen it. Check it out and you can see the other episodes. So today I'm super pumped to be talking to my friend Simone de Cunha all the way from Croatia, where she's moved from New Zealand about 8 months ago or so. And we're going to be chatting about creating peace during chaos, right? And what the world is going on. And we're just going to see where the conversation takes us. Please go ahead and comment and we'll come back to you and let's do it. Let's bring her in. Hey, Simone, how are we?
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to see you, babe.
Right.
So how is life in Croatia?
Do you know what? Life is fantastic. I just a little bit of background. I'm dual citizen, so my parents are both Croatian, and that's how obviously I've landed here. Interestingly enough, yes, it was about 8 months ago that we moved. And it's fantastic here. It's actually, the energy is very, very different to what's sort of been going on in the Five Eyes, and New Zealand being one of them. Yeah, it's just been a really, really interesting experience coming here. So obviously my background in the business world is, well, there's many things, but at the moment I'm working as an awakening mentor and coach, where I'm helping people through this process. I'm naturally a bridge between the 3D and the 5D space. So people that are struggling in the 3D because what they're seeing around them, what's going on, they feel like everything's falling apart. I bring in that greater perspective, big bird's eye view perspective from the spiritual perspective, so from the 5D, and help them through what's going on in the 3D. And to be honest, Croatia's been a really good leveler for me, and it's been a really good way for me to be able to have space in which to do that and in which to find my own liberation. Okay, there are no restrictions here. There haven't been since we got here at the end of March, and there is never a conversation about, everything is like it was in 2019. That's how I feel living here.
It's so interesting. Sometimes we do need the space. I spoke with a woman the other day. I interviewed Audrey and we talked about breaking free from the matrix. So you guys, if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. But it's like you both have had the opportunity to go back to your home countries. So she's from Bulgaria, and spend and really immerse yourself in that and not be caught up in all the craziness. And there's so much craziness. Now you mentioned the Five Eyes. So can you, I'm sitting here going like, what is that? So can you elaborate?
Yes, I have quite a wide knowledge. It's 20 minutes isn't long. No, so that's basically New Zealand, Australia, Canada, Britain, and oh golly gosh, Canada, Britain, maybe the US. I think that's right. It's basically sort of like the most Western Commonwealth countries. So there's a political group and an economic group for the Five Eyes. So there is all sorts of things that have played out across Europe as well, especially Western Europe. But how they roll things out here are very different, specifically and especially to how they're able to roll things out in Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand is what I can speak from because I spent the last 16 years, I've lived overseas. I was born in New Zealand, spent the last 16 years there. And so raising my daughter, and, the way things have been able to play out there, because it's an isolated, country basically in the bottom of the world, is quite different to how they've been able to play things out here. They can't do things with such gusto, and they can't do it across the board, right? They can't push agendas across the board in the same way, because you've got many different cultures within the greater Europe area and also within the EU that are mingling and sort of together. And some of them are Balkans, like what I am from, Eastern Europe, and these are nations that have had a lot of strife. They've had a lot of war. I mean, even recently. So they're quite savvy and quite sharp and quite distrusting naturally of the government. And I think it's a lot harder to drive certain agendas. I think we know what we're talking about, as it is in the same way in somewhere like New Zealand. So for me, living when I was based in New Zealand over the last few years, it was it's like you're fighting off something. It's a trauma response, because essentially nobody's escaped the trauma. Okay, so nobody has escaped some form of trauma with what's gone on in the last few years. And we respond. So I guess coming here has given me the breathing space to not have to constantly be responding. I can sit in my peace. I can do my healing, find my grounding, assimilate in the culture, enjoy the tradition of the culture without having my guard up constantly. It's actually taken quite a while to get to that place where I'm like, oh, I'm suspicious. Oh, what are you going to do next? Like it's not there. It's like, okay, this is okay. I'm safe again. And I think a lot of us, have been affected by feelings of being truly unsafe, not knowing, not being able to trust the external. And so when we cannot trust the external, we either lose it or we have to go within, and we have to find our peace and our sanctuary within ourselves. And that's through spiritual work. Yeah, so I went off from the 5 eyes, but anyway.
I do want to dive into the how part, which you were just about to go into. But before that,
yes.
living with your guard up, like what an interesting concept. And I think that is what we've naturally started to do, in the last, let's just say 3 years, particularly.
Yes.
But some people longer, living with our guard up. And then when you learn something new and you have to figure out, where does this fit and how is that going to respond? And so it's interesting to see the different ways that people do navigate these times. I met up with someone just yesterday who hadn't seen in many years, and we are to a certain extent on the same page, but she's really choosing to just fully immerse in her life and like her business and what she can control, and not ruffling feathers and not having conversations and just really, and staying present and staying positive in that way. And then other people like me are like, I can't not say something. And I kind of want to not role model, but I want to give people courage by maybe speaking out. And to be fair, I still really limit what I say out loud. In real life, I'll say a lot more, but on socials and stuff, I do limit what I say. But so I guess what I'm saying to you is like the whole living with your guard up thing. Like, what are some ways that we can just, I guess, stay positive and stay peaceful during these times?
To know that this is all happening for our greater good. It sounds really woo-woo, but
that's what we're here for.
Exactly. That is what we're here for. It's easier for me physically to do that here. It is less easy for you to do that in New Zealand right now. That's the example I'm giving, not just New Zealand, that's because I know it. So what are some ways? Firstly, we have to address our own, because we're in a time of awakening, a time of great awakening. Now, that awakening happens on a personal level. It is happening on a global level. It is happening on a wide level by people seeing some truths that are coming out now. Okay. And so those truths are not just around what's happened over the last few years, but it's opened up Pandora's box, essentially.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's opened up Pandora's box, hasn't it? So firstly, it's striking a balance between how much of that 3D, we call it, you all understand what I mean by that, truth we take in, married with how much work we do at an esoteric spiritual level, so that we're balancing out, am I taking up too much information and am I not dealing to my soul? Or am I in la la land where I'm ignoring what's really happening around me so that I can have this false sense of safety? There's a very different thing so we call it spiritual bypassing or bypassing the truth, essentially. We must understand the truth of what is going on in the world. We need to know that level, because if we don't understand that level, it's very hard to then find peace, because we can't pretend. The minute, if we're going to sit there and go, oh, I'm just going to pretend and I'm going to do all this nice stuff and it doesn't really exist, we're bypassing. We're not going to go anywhere, and our soul's not going to go on the journey it needs to go on, right? So finding peace, here's some practical ways. Do your healing. Do whatever you can to heal all the deepest, darkest wounds that we've carried through this lifetime and through others, through our ancestral lines, all the rest of it, in a gentle way. That doesn't sort of mean, I'm not sort of saying, go into past life regressions. That time is done. We're talking about in a gentle way and allowing the flow of what's natural, what's the emotions to pass through, you release them. Use practitioners where you need to help you through that. Be open to the truth. Be open to hearing different sides of every story, and trusting that your inner discernment will find what's real and true for you. Yeah. And then embrace what you love. It's like navigate all that stuff, but then embrace more of what you love. It's like the more we do what we love, the more we're around people we love, the more we can feel that vibrancy of real, genuine love. Now, I don't mean la-di-da, I don't mean no boundary stuff. I'm talking proper, genuine, real love. The easier this will be to navigate, right?
Yeah.
It allows you to flush away some of that external caca, could we say, that's just there trying to break down your barrier. That's what they're doing. You know, it's all on purpose. It's very orchestrated. It's very obvious now that it is. I think for many
but not
people
to everyone, but we can get into that.
Absolutely not to everyone, because not everyone is here for that, and that's okay. That's also okay. Accepting them is a hard part, because we've been taught to divide, to separate, you know, to sit on two sides of the fence, and that's also part of what this is about. It's tricky, but it's trying to try to sit in a neutral space but still do your work. It's a challenge, but we can do it. Neutrality is what we're all after. It's the most important place that we can find ourselves in. However, it does not mean, neutrality does not mean that we have no boundaries. We allow people to speak to us. However, we don't speak our truth in a way. Sorry, what I found living a long time in New Zealand was, and permission to speak frankly, it's extremely politically correct. You come and live somewhere like Croatia, they don't do political correct. They don't do any sort of soft engineered socialism. They say what they think, but it's damn harmonious. They have bugger all crime. There's all sorts of things that I'm going, well, hang on a minute. This can't be too bad a way to do things, because it seems to be producing, it's still a much more traditional society. It works. So all these new ways of being and new models that have been enforced on us, they're not really for our greatest good. They're to drive an agenda so that we become subservient. And if people start to realize that we have been driven to this on purpose, they'll start to see the bigger picture and choose a different path. That's one way to find peace, I guess.
I mean, all of that is so good. I wrote down some notes, like the four things you were saying, and I feel like some people will like go for they will do the healing. Other people have avoided the healing their whole life, right? Sure. And they've learned many lessons over and over, right? Other people, like my friend, maybe they might go straight to the love. She's like, I'm just going to do my job, which I love, and hang out with the people that I love, and like not. Cool. And so it's, I mean, you could call it head in the sand, but it's intentional, you know, energy being focused on what brings her joy. She still kind of knows what's going on, but she's like, I don't go on Facebook. I'm not even on Telegram. She's like, so some people, I don't know. That's so cool. Everyone's on their own journey. Is that what we're going to come to with this?
That is exactly right. Everyone is on their own journey. And, you know, none of us, okay, people can have different theories, but we're here, we've forgotten, we're here to remember, and none of us fully know what's here after we pass on from this planet right in this time. You know, a lot of us have insight because we're star seeds and all sorts of different things, but there's also multiple layers of false light matrix. Okay, false light being God complexes, being sorry, I might be going too deep here, but I'll just put it out there anyway. Okay, so being false spirituality, okay, being spirituality, and the work is actually really simple. You know, it's us, it's source, it's Mother Earth. That's it. It's not that there are many layers that people think they need to do, and different techniques and all these sorts of things they feel they need to do in order to heal. But it's actually a lot more simple than that. I think we've been bombarded with stuff to distract us. And I think that's come from the same people that brought us the thing. Okay. So a lot of people have that feeling. They understand that this is off-planet work. This is off-planet work that they've been doing to humanity for a very long time. People don't have to know exactly what that is. That's okay, because it might be a bit scary to open that Pandora's box, or it might just be a bit weird or unbelievable. But as long as you have an understanding, because you can see, if you're an awakened soul or an awakening soul, you can see that there's something going on that ain't right. whatever your level of understanding is, doesn't really matter. As long as you know there's something that ain't right, and you're going to be true to yourself, and you're not going to follow that false light. You're going to stay in your truth light, right? Because that truth light is far more powerful anyway. It's far more powerful than anything that anyone else can layer over the top of you. But you've got to have awareness to be able to bring that in. And if you've got awareness, but you're choosing to focus on whatever, fine. That's fine. You know, I think we can get too bogged down in the detail. And I think the time has come on this planet to move beyond that detail, because remember that what we feed, we continue to create, right? So we can know something's going on. Good, I've got all the detail. That's fantastic. I'm not feeding you. I'm feeding something else. But energetically, that can come from different places. That can come from a misunderstanding of the truth, and then you're operating from false light and going, la, 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 all's love and light. No, it's not. Understand that it's not, but that's okay. I understand it. I know the truth. I know enough of the truth, but I can find my own peace within it.
I feel like that's where my friend is at. Like she's, you know, she's really at that point. Yes. She's not in denial. But what I struggle with personally, and maybe this is my burning desire to always, you know, change, help empower people and help them to see things. I struggle with people. I know, however, when people close to me, when I feel like they're not in denial, but they don't really see that anything's wrong. They're like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so, the politicians did the best job they could. And, you know, it was really hard. Like, you know, and so I find that hard when people don't see, they might not see the truth that I think I see, but they're not head in the sand exactly. They just don't see that there's a problem. And that's what I struggle with. But so I have to really, for myself, go like, it's their journey, but it's hard when they're really close in your life. You know, it's their journey. Yeah. Yes,
I understand. Okay. So again, permission to speak frankly, that is a severe form of mind control. It's mind control. Okay. Because in the West, especially in certain places, there has been a carefully orchestrated plan to dumb down people through all sorts of things. I'm not talking about just the last few years. It's just been happening in stages. And when you're an old soul, you observe this because you can see it happening, right? So not saying that people are dumb, but they're dumbing down them on purpose so that they seek validation externally, right? They seek it through their cars, their businesses, their houses, their whatever it is, their boat, whatever, their families, their loved ones, not all materialistic things.
Their degrees on the wall.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's okay to have. It's okay to have. It's just knowing what it means, right? You see what I mean? Like they seek a validation that's external, meaning we all seek some form of validation, right? Because that's normal. We're human. We want to be as part of a community and a group. But what I think has happened in many places, and what I know without a doubt, having an Eastern European background in my bloodline, people here don't trust their government. People here, as a default setting, do not trust politicians, the government, anyone that has anything to do with any of that. They just go, oh, that's just how that is, kind of thing. They don't trust them. They don't believe them. They are suspicious of them. It's a natural go-to. But when you've been somewhere like where you're living now in New Zealand, they haven't had war for a very long time. It's been quite an easy life. It's been very easy to soften people's defenses.
And also Canada, where I'm originally from, right? Canada, both of those countries, really similar. Don't want to rock the boat.
No, they are probably the most passive countries on the planet. Maybe Sweden or a couple of the Scandinavian countries can, you know, but they are the two in the West, the most passive countries on the planet, the most easy to pull the wool over their eyes. And that is not, it's not an attack. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. I've lived it. I was born there, and you were too. You were born in Canada. You have that understanding of your awakened perception, but then you also understand the culture you were brought up in. And I understand it, you know, deeply, and I see it, and it is very, very, very different. The whole world is not like that, right? So they tell you certain things on the news or whatever, what's going on here or there. I mean, golly, you know, our family, not mine specifically, but some of my partner's family were like, oh my gosh, but that's quite near Ukraine. And gosh, you're going to Croatia. Like, please, people, that's also another part of what they're engineering. Okay, that story is another story they're engineering. The whole lot is false.
They will
Yes,
feed
there's
you
wars that go on. They will
distraction.
feed you distraction. They'll feed you to base it on the narrative that they are trying to push, because they are funneling all sorts through that country. There's nothing to do with caring about people or war or nothing. They never have, they never will. People need to understand they need to take that power back themselves and understand that you don't have to get involved in knowing what all those stories are all about, but you need to know that if it comes from that source, generally speaking, it's BS. It's BS. It's agenda driven, and these days it is so obvious to those of us who are.
And it's probably the opposite, right? It's the opposite is probably true.
Honestly, exactly right. The opposite is probably true, or some 2/10, 6/8, whatever version of whatever, the opposite. So essentially, I think I understand your struggle, because I struggled with that when I was there, because, you know, it got to a point where I just lived my own little world and lived my own little life and kind of did my own thing with my awake friends and family and what have you.
Which is what I do. I mean, 99% of my, people, are on the same page.
Of course. But it's split families. It's split. Yeah. It's split. You know, the way that they've driven it. I mean, I'm going to speak frankly again. What has happened in countries like that is an absolute disgrace, and people should be jumping up and down, disgusted. Instead, they just walk around and pretend nothing has happened or nothing is wrong. When you allow a force of supposed power to try to divide your human souls from one another based on something that is just so irrelevant, and so it's complete and utter fabrication. It's a poison. So if you're going to, and I don't mean just the thing, I'm talking about a poison in here. It's a poison in here if you're going to allow that to happen to your fellow brother, your fellow sister, your fellow people. There's something deeply wrong, and that can only come from having your human senses been numbed for a very long time. Your compassion, your love, your fear of God knows what, because there's absolutely nothing worse than doing that to your fellow human. So I think that's it in a nutshell, really. And it's an emotional thing for me, because it truly is that. But therefore, one has to realize that we're all on a different journey, going to different places, because otherwise, you and I probably have a similar trajectories, whatever, in the journey, but then there'll be some people that are on this planet that are completely robotic or completely controlled by different factions, right? Because of different things that they've done or what have you. Let's not go there, but you know what I mean. And so when you're at that point, you can't rationalize from the human soul the way that you and I can. It's many things, and I mean it's many things that have happened over the years. It's media, it's school indoctrination, it's healthcare, it's
also disconnection with your intuition, I think.
Thank you.
Like a lot of people, I have people say to me, like, but how do you know? I'm like, well, I don't know, but it just, I don't need to like research so-and-so's name and make sure that they're still on YouTube to believe things. It's like, oh, they're off YouTube, they must not be credible. It's like, probably the opposite is true.
Yeah, absolutely the opposite. That if they're off YouTube, then you probably want to believe them. Okay.
I just wanted a little shout out to the audience for a moment, you guys. So if you're listening to this, we want to know what's resonating. Simone talked about, doing your healing, going to see practitioners, being open to the truth, embracing love. There's a few things that have come up. How are you handling, people in your life who are not seeing what you're seeing, or not open to other concepts that maybe the opposite is true? Are you able to just allow them be on their journey? Good on you. Are you like me and really struggling with that? We would love your comments. We will come back and we'll check them out. So Simone, what else? Like, let's talk a litlittle bit more about peace, like, because we do want peace. I know that there's a lot of fabrication of fear. There is genuine fear, obviously, but fear has been used to fuel division and control and coercion, obviously in the past 3 years, but guess what? In the past hundreds of years as well. So what are some of your insights or guidance around like just how can people feel peaceful? Because you said just knowing that this is for the greater good. How can we allow I'm actually not anxious. I'm excited. but I also am
Yes.
frustrated because I'm very
Yes.
impatient. So how can we be peaceful?
Well, you're also living where somewhere the agenda's been driven pretty hard, and it's
Mhm.
harder. It is harder because your physical environment is harder sometimes, right? So don't beat yourself up on that. Again, finding peace. Again, it's through all those avenues. Sitting with yourself, learning to come from the heart, learning to step in your heart. That might be by doing, half an hour meditation a day. It could be walking around in nature and literally speaking to the trees and the flowers. It's beautiful there. Like,
Mhm.
it just get out and be. Know that when you're starting to get a little bit edgy, oh, maybe I need to take a bath or something. Like, know thyself, start
Twice a
to
week, I
tap
take a
in.
bath.
There you go. I'm a big bather, and put your essential oils on. But it's more than that. It's allowing yourself to have the courage to face your own demons.
Mm.
Because when we face our own demons and we face our own fears, aside from all the engineered fears, our own stuff as well, right? That's when, and we can actually allow them to be and to sit in the emotion of negativity and yuckiness, like until it passes naturally. That's when we'll take that next step. Every time we allow ourselves to sit in the yucky and feel it and allow it to process through until we're ready to come out of it and be joyful or happy again or content, that's when we heal something and we take another step up that ladder, so to speak, in finding peace, just recognizing and acknowledging that this is a really challenging time for humanity. It's a really challenging time. And just to be kind to yourself. Like, don't push too hard. This is not a time for pushing too hard. It's a time for reflection, sitting back, allowing nature to take its course and sort of engaging with the universe and learning how to, so that you can get those little intuitions, which you talked about. You're talking about intuition, those insights. Those are really powerful. We've been taught to ignore those and look at this physical fact stuff. That's made up, that stuff. This is where the truth is. This
actually.
Intuition, this intuition, this knowing is the truth. That's the truth. It's there. It's like it's that gut feeling you got when you were 18, when someone, and you're like, oh no, I'll excuse me, I'll go against my gut feeling because, no, this is the right thing to do. Bang, you do it. And then you're like, damn it, I should have listened to my gut feeling. Right? It's the same thing. It's making decisions based on where you're at, not where you think you should be at. Right? So, okay, we decided to come over here. It was a huge call, right? But it was the penny dropped. And then the alignment sank in to the point where we could no longer ignore it. And it was just like, oh God, we're all feeling this, aren't we? Okay, we need to make this move. And then we just made the move. We made it happen. And it was hard. It was full on. We didn't even know we'd get out of the country, right? And we were like, realistically. And then we did it. And it's not been easy, but it's been the most incredible fast track transformational thing that I've done for quite some time in my family. So those sorts of things are things that we bring us peace, is following our heart. What do I really want? Where do I want to be? What do I want to do? What feels
And
aligned?
that's right. I mean, you really upped your brave, moving back home as such. But I think making empowered choices, being intentional about the physical spaces we spend time in, geographically, the spaces, the people we hang around. I mean, I actually had a peaceful moment, very monumental, the other day when someone super close to me, who I haven't tried to convince because we're just so not on the same page. But whenever I got kind of approached or attacked, let's say, I would be like, this is not okay. This is actually, so I'd come in calmly but firmly over the last 3 years. Anyway, the other day I met with them and they said to me, I'm sorry. The first thing they said to me, I'm sorry for all the angst I've caused you in the past year. And I was just like, thank you so much. And we had we embraced, and it was amazing. So it's going to be interesting these times going forward. And I've got a few friends who really got put through the mill in terms of family and work and everything. And some of them are like, I will never forget. I will never forgive. They're in that energy. I'm not in that energy. I'm like, I'm open to people acknowledging it's not that I need an apology, right? That's different. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I am
yeah.
open to people acknowledging that they maybe didn't act in a way that was the best,
Yeah,
and acknowledging that or not, right? Depending where they're at on their journey.
yeah.
But what I want to see, like, is people coming together again and not so much of this division, which a
Divide.
lot of it, which
Mm.
has been intentionally created.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. It has all been intentionally created, like all of it. So I
Mhm.
think that it's a big pill to swallow, but it's the truth. And I think when people realize that, everyone will not realize that everybody's soul is not here for the same thing. They're just not. You can feel it, you can see it. There are different types of beings that are here on planet Earth. They're different to you, they're different to me. We're all different. And I'm like a bit of a believer that it's a tricky energy. It's like you can hold something within you and go, I've got boundaries, and you know what? I've let you go because you're actually not in my frequency. And if I lower myself to hang out with you, I'm lowering myself and I want to stay here. So
Mhm.
sorry, I love you and I send you away. Bye-bye. Right? That's different than that energy of, oh, I'll never forgive or I'll never forget, or
Yeah.
that's quite different
Yeah.
because it's not coming, it's not you going in your, it's actually
Mm.
you going, nah, there's the hand, I'm
Mhm.
done. That's me, like you just did when you said like that you had boundaries over the last
Mhm.
bit, how and then somebody came and apologized. It's because you had those boundaries. If you don't have
Mhm.
those boundaries, it never have known. It would have just been this resentful situation because no one was communicating properly. But to
Exactly. So
communicate,
there's the difference between
yeah,
boundaries and
yeah,
bitterness. And I want to throw this
absolutely,
back to the
yeah.
audience. It's like going
Mhm.
forward, just inviting you to be open, but not expecting of people being apologetic or whatever. So I think, yeah, just being open to it and trying to, in terms of being peaceful, right? Trying to release, like, but like I said, I've been more frustrated in the past 3 years than the past 30 years. So
Damn
trying to
straight, damn
release
straight.
that frustration, release that
Yeah,
judgment, and like everyone's on their
yeah,
own journey. Like, Nat, come on, everyone's on their
yeah,
own journey. Like, it's all good. But
yeah.
I'll still wear my wake up hat, down to the grocery store,
Oh,
and I'll still
you
just,
you do
just in
that.
my
Yeah.
in my own subtle way.
Because the thing is that, again, do you know what I love about being here? I don't have to be subtle. I love
Mm.
it. Okay. Because it's what they actually need is more people not being subtle. Because that's what's gotten them in the shit in the
Yeah.
first place. It's because of that energy of reserved, timid, oh, I can't speak up and speak my truth. It is so dangerous, that stuff. So if you want to wear your wake up hat, you wear your wake up hat. You're not doing it with anger. You're not doing it with, oh, I'm casting a no. It's just you're doing it from a place of love because you want to share this knowing that you have deep down inside of you. There's nothing wrong with
It's like,
that.
come and
You
join me,
know,
wake up.
yeah,
Yeah.
come and join me. Because if you did, the world would be a better place if we understood that what our sovereignty actually means is that we are free as human beings. There are certain things that cross over that boundary, and that happened in the last few years. It's happened for many years. I mean, taxes, don't get me started. But the last few years has really been the tipping point of where that sovereignty and that natural human instinct of freedom and joy and love and family, all those wonderful things that we cherish, has really been pushed over.
Mm.
It's really been, and I think that's why we're seeing so many changes on the earth now. We're seeing so much movement of people. We're seeing so much happening that's so different. People really choosing different ways to live. How they find peace might be, having multiple different pipelines for work so that they're more free with their time. And that's another way of finding peace, like it's been finding their people they can do
Mhm.
business with that
Mhm.
connect like you're doing. And it's just following, it's like taking a plunge. Now is the time to just take a plunge. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, trust that your feelings are what guide you more than your head. Your feelings and the way you feel. I think that finding that peace is the feeling center being able to guide you rather than going, oh, no, that feeling's rubbish. Watch what this person says here. This is the right thing to do. No, it's not.
You
No,
know,
it is
tragically
not.
with humanity, we have to seem to get
Yeah.
challenged and pushed and pressured to the point before we're like, okay, this is not okay. Enough is enough. And, and we're ready to create, like so many people going, oh my God, I actually love working from home. Oh my goodness, I don't need to live in the city. But we had to get to that pressure point in order to now create the peace, the peaceful life, or the on path type of life that we want. So for the audience, what are you ready to courageously create in your life, in your relationships, in your wellness, in your business, in your fitness? What are you ready to courageously create now that you've been pushed to the point and pressured? Right. And sometimes then the next question I ask is, what are you ready to lovingly let go of in order to make that happen? And sometimes that is a person. And sometimes that is a habit or an obligation or a responsibility or whatever it might be. So something to ponder, comment below, because what we do want to do is create peace during chaos. And we're hopefully seeing that more and more. So I'd love some comments from you guys.
I think we're really learning that. I mean, I'll give you a little basic one. I gave up a backyard to live in an apartment right now. It's temporary because we've got big goals for the future. But, these are the things that you go, I don't care, because what I've gained is so much more than that little comfort, that little thing. Sometimes it comes in all forms. What are you willing to courageously create? I love that, because it comes in so many different forms. And it could be, I'm seeing people do it constantly. I'm seeing people choose an eco way of life and going off grid and going, no, I want to be self-sufficient. And that's a really, really cool way that some people are creating this really totally different new life that keeps them, it sort of sets them apart from the system too, which is a really smart thing to do.
I've got a friend who, she's been running 3 successful businesses for 20 years. And now she's like, really wants to lean in and grow the healing side of her business. Like, she's got a great wellness space, and she's like lovingly letting go of one and then the other business, like selling it, so that she can really solely focus on what brings her joy. And you talked about embracing the love. And I think that is what we want to do. We want to look at what in my life is not in alignment, and can I now lovingly let go of, or as I sometimes say, close the chapter on, and so that I can courageously create and lean into the love and embrace the love. And that's when we're really, we're in our superpowers, we're in our happy place.
Fully. And just to add to that, the energies are supporting that right now. So if we want to go into that sort of cosmos, into that space, the universe and the frequencies that are coming through, the light from the sun, all that stuff I've talked about many times before, they're actually supporting that a lot more. So the more you can step into that side of this yourself, you're going to get more feedback and support. It's going to help you more. They help you more now. It's a time that we're actually physically in. And it's definitely happened to me. Like, I've tried this manifesting stuff in that years ago and all these different things. And like, I felt like something's missing. Something's, I'm not quite, I've noticed in the last while, I'm like, by golly, are they supporting us right now if we really honor ourselves? Now's
the time.
It's massive. Now's the time.
Awesome. Hey, so Simone, where can people find you online? Where can they follow you? And what is coming up for you in 2023?
Oh, okay. So they can find me at my website or Instagram. I'm busy on both. So that's www.simonedecunha.com. My Instagram tag is Simone_de Cunha, my surname. I'm quite busy on there. And what's coming up in 2023 so much. But, firstly, we're going to Austria and Slovenia for Christmas, and we're going snowboarding. So yay.
Yay.
And next year I'm bringing in quite a lot. So I'm really starting to kick up with work again. So I'm bringing in new projects around getting back into Pilates instructing and doing workshops like that, getting into my awakening and mentoring business again heavily, because I did take some time off this year to move, and picking up all sorts of different projects that really exciting. And in the next 1 to 2 years, we will be looking at purchasing our own land here in Croatia. So there's a lot happening for me in 2023. So yeah, it's exciting.
That is so awesome. You know, it's funny as you were talking before, because I'm such a super
Mhm.
connector. I was thinking, oh, I need to introduce her to so and so. Oh, I need to, and
Oh,
I just
cool.
got another one. I wrote them down.
I would love
So
that.
many
I would
incredible
love
people.
that.
I know so many incredible people, and I just love
Yay.
connecting them. So,
Yay.
you guys, if you
Yeah.
missed the episode, I recently did one because you talked about getting in touch with practitioners and helping with the
Yeah.
healing. I did an
Mhm.
episode with Rachel from the PHA, which is the People's Health Alliance, which is basically holistic and health hubs popping up all over, actually 30 countries around the world, where people are starting to
Wow.
bring together more and more
Yeah.
naturopaths, reflexologists, massage
Yes.
therapists,
Yeah.
etc., light workers, you know, all the things, and
Mhm. Mhm.
integrating that with nurses and doctors who
Mhm.
are like either burnt out or not, like just not wanting to be with that same old system,
Yeah.
because there is a
Yeah.
massive transformation going on, is there
There
not?
is. There certainly is. That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. And there's so much of that popping. So get amongst those people, eh? Like
Mm.
there's so much of that happening that I'm excited. I think this time has been the biggest shakeup. Yes, we've got to heal how it's, traumatized us in some ways, but on the flip side, it is the most exciting time to be alive because we've kind of got the green light on a lot of stuff because it's gone so one way. It's like, oh my gosh. And now because of the frequencies and the energies coming, it's like, oh wow, we can really create these new solutions of our own. And it's a really, really cool time to be alive. So yeah, awesome. Love it.
Yay. Thank you
Love
so much,
it.
Simone,
Love
for
it.
joining us
Oh,
today.
thank you for having me.
Amazing. We'll see you next time. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, you
Thank
guys,
you.
thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wake Up Your Woo. If you haven't seen it, check it out on Rumble. You can see the other episodes. Also, if you want to get a wake up hat or you want to get some essential oils, get in touch with me, upyourbrave.com. I also am a super connector. So I've got coaching club, and business connections. So get in touch, upyourbrave.com. Thanks for watching. And until next time, remember to wake up your woo. See you guys.